Welcome to Radiant Moments, where resilience, connection, and healing come alive through heartfelt stories and practical guidance. I'm your host, Michelle. Today, we're joined by Christian W. Schnepf, a sociologist and GoodTime strategist who's traveled the world learning from monks, retired CEOs, and cultures rich in wisdom. He's researched birthed the GoodTime ratio, a science-backed model for measuring and maximizing life satisfaction. He's also the founder of GoodTime App, a life dashboard helping people intentionally invest their time to increase their good times. Christian's compassionate, data-driven approach is designed to help caregivers, creatives, and top performers create lasting energy, clarity, and joy, crucial for anyone juggling the demands of caring for others while tending to themselves. Christian, I'm honored to welcome you here on Radiant Moments.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me here. It's my honor.
Christian, your story resonates deeply, especially for caregivers who often feel burnt out. Despite doing it all, you experienced early success, status, business, and good health, but still felt lost and empty. Can you take us back to the moment of reckoning when you realized life could be a bonus round instead of constant pressure, and what that shift meant for you as someone responsible for others as well as yourself?
Yeah, it was during the time when I was a student. In my second semester or third, I founded my first company because I did some work here and there and some people got aware of it. So I got hired and then more. So it did make sense to found a company. But during the time, I found that all the success that I've been told from society is pretty empty. So whether you have money, whether you have acknowledgement, I was traveling every week, thousands of kilometers, and yet I felt increasingly empty and questioned that this is the rest of my life. So yes, I might make it bigger, but overall it's not going to be more fulfilling. And during that time, suicidal thoughts came up, and it became worse and worse, and I really didn't see a point to be alive anymore. Until I found the idea that what if it could be different? So that was a spark that came out of a conversation that gave me this glimpse of what if life could be good actually again? What if it's not limited to what I know? Maybe there's a different way of living. And that sparked a counter idea of not ending my life, but keep living. And then I said, okay, I'm deciding to keep living. However, it's a bonus round. So I won't treat it the same way I did it before. I will do things radically different. And that's what I did over the years later. Honestly, I tried it another time, the same approach, but I didn't think that it was the same approach. I just realized, okay, now you're back in business, bigger team, more travel. However, again, the sun set at the evening behind the blocks, and I thought, like, what did I experience today? Basically just business calls. And and I felt, no, this is not what I want to do. So later I went hardcore and went abroad, sold all of my stuff, and started the search on what does it really take to live a fulfilled life.
So your travels brought you into contact with monks and retired CEOs, which are two very different opposite ends of the world with distinct approaches to the meaning of joy. What were the most profound lessons you've learned about why humans, especially caregivers, seek good times, and what keeps many stuck from sustaining them long term?
So that is a very interesting question, and I wouldn't limit it to caregivers. It's actually not even limited to humans. It's the desire to free energy. That energy is flowing within myself and my environment. And that was actually the goal of everyone. We captured it, or we formulated in the terms of good times. So I want to have maximum good times today or as long as possible. And the approaches to reach those good times are different. So for the CEO, for example, well, his path led him firstly through, I need to get money, and then realizing it's not fulfilling, but now I'm having the resources, so I'm retiring. And for the monk, his was a different approach. He says, I'm not going for money. I'm going for finding inner peace and becoming equanimous to the environment. But the approach was, the goal was basically the same. Not just basically, the goal was the same. And that's when I realized, okay, good times is what we all pursue, but which approach works best? And that depended from person to person. and from situation to situation. And some approaches led to short-term success in terms of I have short-term good times, but were long-term really not really helpful. Give you an example, a classic example everyone can resonate with probably. I can go on a holiday because I just got some money and I spend it all for this 2 weeks. And afterwards I'm struggling for another year to go to work and to get the next amount of money to spend it for the next thing. And that might be giving a short-term good time, but over the year, of the course of 12 months, that was a fraction of the time. And that was not a really good deal. So the other way is perhaps I'm working for 20 or 30 or 40 years. I'm climbing the career ladder and never take a holiday off and stressing myself just to have then retirement. But I don't know how long I'm going to live anymore. And as my physical capacities are limited, I won't be able to enjoy as much as I could have if I would have taken care of myself. And in that case, those 40 years of work versus 5 years of joy wasn't a good deal neither. So what is a good balance that gives me a long-term good time versus and also the short-term good time?
So just so I have the full understanding, you saying that the CEO and the monk had the exact same goal at the end of the day. And
Yes.
when you were researching and on this path of discovery for Good Times, you discovered that the equation of working and then having a good time when you retire for a short period, or saving up, working hard, and then going on a short trip once a year, neither of those provided the fulfillment that you're currently seeking in your research for good times all the time.
Exactly.
So if we're coming from like a caregiver's perspective, we are supporting another person. And many caregivers struggle with the tension of wanting to give their ultimate best and be in with their loved ones and not neglecting their own well-being. But because somebody else needs support and care, caregivers sometimes find that all of their needs are on the back burner, which leads to burnout. You've identified in society and economic systems that there are blockers to sustain joy. Could you explain what you see as the biggest barriers for creating joy and maintaining its lasting energy and happiness?
It's basically sacrificing the very moment. So if I'm blocking energy, and that's the beauty of what I found meanwhile, that good times are linked to energy flow. So if you want to have sustainable good times for the long term, also for later, that means energy is flowing. But if I'm not having a good time, that means my energy is blocked, which is ironically the opposite of what I need to succeed in whatever I'm doing. So even if I want to take care of someone, I need energy. I need energy to take care of someone. So if I'm having a good time, I can actually take better care of someone. If I'm creating the structure that my energy is flowing freely all the time. And if I'm blocking this and saying I'm sacrificing here, okay, short term that might help. Here and there it's a compromise, and I can't do my wellness spa in that moment because I have to take care of my kid. But for the long term, that means energy wanted to flow actually, and I blocked my energy to flow. So somewhere else it's going to break. Somewhere else I'm going to escalate. The energy wants to break through. And that's usually in a situation that I don't welcome, that is not really welcomed. Whether it's my body, that I'm starting to compensate with unhealthy food because that unhealthy food gives me a short-term pleasure. Yeah, of course, I needed somewhere to go. Or I'm escalating and shouting to my partner, or worst case, even to my child, because energy is blocked and it's literally tension. Imagine there's a pipeline of water running through. And short term, you can say, I block the water here, that the water is running through another pipeline. But eventually water pressure is increasing. And sooner or later, that pipeline is breaking. And the damage you're having out of it is not really helpful for anyone. You have to clean up all of that. And therefore, blocking energy for the long term, and I'm not even saying long term, I'm saying for a few days is enough actually. Perhaps even for the whole day is enough. If you're blocking all your natural desires flowing somewhere, it's ending up worse. And there's a reason why we call it a need, because it's not a want to have, it's a need. I need me time. I need to take care of myself. But because if you don't take care of yourself, no one will. And we have this misbelief that someone else will take care of us, especially as caregivers, especially as those who put themselves last. We believe this is what everyone is going to do, but this is not a sustainable model, and it's never been. There's enough history about this. For those 2,000 years ago, people talked already about taking care of themselves first. And in the airplane, there's also the same. If the mask is dropping down, put it on your face first. You give it to your kid, and your kid will have a good time for 5 seconds, but afterwards it's gone. And because you can't take care anymore. So that's very important to understand, that your good times are not a want to have or nice to have. Your good times are a need. It's a need to have. Even from the perspective that you say, I want to put myself last, or I want to put the others first. I want to take care of others. Even from that perspective, you're better off, and you can take care better if you took care of yourself first.
So it's a non-negotiable.
I mean, if you were in a survival situation where it's okay, I'm gonna die in 30 minutes or I'm gonna die in 5 minutes, then of course put your needs last if your child has a chance to survive longer, because it doesn't really matter whether you survive 25 minutes longer. But for any other situation, if you're saying I need to survive at least a couple of days longer, then you need to consider your energy resources and your capacity. Otherwise, you won't make those couple of days. Let's illustrate some fantasy story here. Imagine you were with your child somewhere in the jungle, and you say the trip takes another 4 days, and then we are out of the jungle. We don't have a lot of food, but we have something. And in the jungle, there are a lot of dangerous things the child is opposed to and could die. So you're saying, okay, on the last hour, I might give my last resources to my child, that my child survives through it. But before that, the last 4 days, you say, I need to get something from what we have here. I need to get some rest, that I'm sharp enough to spot the danger, that I'm balanced enough to control myself, to make rational decisions. And if you don't do that, you might not come to the 4th day.
A very good example, even though people might see that as an extreme example of being in the forest, because we don't do that on a day-to-day. But if you look at it in how we actually interact on a day-to-day basis, we as humans become sick when we don't care for ourselves. And if you're not standing, who's going to take care of those that you care for if you're not being able to do it anymore because you've had that blockage and it exploded and your body's like, nope, I've had enough. We are now unwell, or I guess can't keep going. All of those like elements that come into it that we don't consider in the moment when we're doing something. We don't look at, if I keep going this way, my body is going to say, you're now lying down. That's it. I'm done. I've got no more left in the tank. So it's a very good, extreme, but very good way of looking at the fact that it's a non-negotiable and it's a need, and there is space for adjustment. But on the whole, you need to take care of the vessel that you have in order to move forward in a healthy, happy, energetic manner.
The term you just used, vessel, I think that describes it quite well. We are just energy vessels. I mean, just like a river where water is flowing through us is flowing blood, through us is flowing other kinds of energy, including electricity, like a computer. So in that case, we are just an energy vessel. And if that vessel is blocked, well, the energy is not flowing as well as it could.
And Christian, the good time ratio provides a fresh way to understand life and life satisfaction, really. Could you break down what it is and how you can use this framework to elevate and improve the way we spend our time beyond the traditional measures of success that often ignore our emotional and holistic well-being?
So the good time ratio doesn't define success as I'm having money or I'm having fame. The good time ratio just defines success as how much of my time is positive versus negative. To be more concrete, how much of my time I'm feeling attracted to be in, and versus the time I prefer not to be in. And that also changes or shifts the perspective of, it's not about having one time good times, it's about a longer period. So I also want to give this to your audience, that it's a shift of perspective for caregivers. What is my time frame I'm operating in? want to take care for my child or my partner or the people in my environment? Do I want to take care of them for 1 hour? Or do I want to take care of them for a week or for the rest of the year or for the rest of my life? And if you shift your perspective and say, what do I actually want? Yes, even as a caregiver, I want to take care of someone else. I want to take care of them as long as possible. And ideally, you set a time frame. And everything beyond a year, I'm just making this up, but I think it's a good guess of a year. Everything beyond a longer period of time shifts your perspective of it's not about giving everything I can today, but how can I give everything for longer? And that's inevitably requires also taking care of your resources that you can sustain this path. So with the good time ratio, we're measuring basically not only the moment, but throughout a longer period of time. What is your ratio of this time flowing your energy versus the ratio of the time where your energy is blocked? And you can guarantee that if you're having a good time for longer, so if you have certain percentages there where you have more good times than negative times, that means your energy is flowing longer, you sustain longer, and you'll be more successful in anything you do. And on the end of the day, as we all striving to have more good times, your whole life is therefore even more successful, because it would be unsuccessful if you say, my goal was to maximize good times, which is the goal of everyone, unconsciously or consciously. The majority of your time was not a good time. That is a failure by definition.
So when you're looking at it, it's more that you have to prepare for a marathon. Something that's going to take investment and time, and you're wanting to make sure that majority of that time, if you run a marathon, at the end you're a little bit sore, you're feeling a little bit tired, but the preparation and the journey that got you there, you're wanting to have the balance of greater good times than negative times in that space. Is that, if I understood the process right? The good time model sounds incredibly useful for caregivers craving balance. For my listeners caring for others and themselves, what is the very first small step you would recommend they take tomorrow to reclaim more good times in their daily lives?
I think the first step is to believe in I can have better times. I am worth to have good times. And perhaps as a caregiver, you argue to yourself, I need to take care of others first, and so on. But if you have now all the reasons that this doesn't really make sense, even in the interest for others, then in that moment, you're making for yourself the decision that, yes, I have to take care of myself first, and I deserve, and it's a good decision that I do take care of myself. The moment you start believing it's good for me and it's good for everyone else, you're freeing up the energy to go in that direction firstly. Because as long as you believe I don't deserve that I'm feeling good, or others need to be taken care of first, in that moment basically all of your actions follow that belief. And then you can try as much as you want, but eventually, even though you could be successful with all the things you're doing, you're sabotaging yourself because it's against your belief what's right. So that would be the first thing to work on. What can I convince myself that it does make sense, that I can take care of myself, and this is a good decision. It can be quite challenging to do that. So a belief can be also formed through experiences, also through your actions. So I would like to give a practical thing that I tested for myself, and it worked amazingly. So one thing I did, I was taking a little bit of time for myself, 30 minutes or so, and writing down what could I do that would be an expression of self-love. So if I'd love myself, what action in my life would represent that? And it's difficult in some situations to come up with that instantly because we have our habits. However, if you once wrote it down, you firstly primed your brain already and made yourself familiar with that. And it takes a little bit of mental capacity to do that. It might be a bit challenging for caregivers who didn't take care of themselves for a long time. However, you're going to come up with something. And if you take 30 minutes undisrupted, and really everyone, if they want, everyone gets 30 minutes. And I'm convinced about it because people spend 30 minutes on social media, at least, and on other stuff. So the payoff to do this is much higher than watching any video. So taking 30 minutes and writing that down, undisrupted, after 10 minutes or so, you're coming into a flow and it becomes more detailed. So in the beginning, it might be, if I would really love myself, I would treat myself on a holiday. That's a big thing. However, later it becomes something like, if I would really love myself, I would give myself a break, 5 minutes between my work tasks. Or I would go to bed 5 minutes earlier. Or in my case, I wrote down, if I really loved myself, I would stop working at the afternoon when I'm running out of energy and giving myself a break and eating something healthy. And if you have that list, that is a reminder. And then you pick something from that every day a little thing. It can be something minor, very, very small. But the longer you do this, the more you're priming your brain that it understands slowly. It's becoming normal, and it's okay to take care of myself, to love myself, to accept myself also, and to prioritize myself. And when that slowly becomes more normal, also it becomes acceptable to go for the next bigger thing, for something you wouldn't allow yourself before. And that builds momentum. And after a while, I don't want to give a number, but if I had to give, after a couple of months, it becomes unquestionable for you that, of course, I need to take care of myself. If someone says, can't you just skip workout today? Or can't you just do this and skip the time for self-care? And you think, that doesn't really make sense. What are you talking about? Why should I do that? Because it became your new normal. And I found this incredibly powerful. If you start with that, then you're seeing the shift happening. You have more energy, you're more balanced. The people in your environment are more attracted to be with you. They say thank you. The tension in your life is decreasing. That was the goal in the first place. So if you want to have a good time, that means energy is flowing. That means also no blockages are there. So in other words, no tension. And if you are in your balance, if you are in your inner center, then the tension around you is also going to disappear. You're softening also the people around you, and they're going to show more respect. And they understand. One thing I found incredibly fascinating and also empowering: the more you take care of yourself and you set boundaries, people actually do respect that. They understand that. They start, oh, he or she has self-respect. So now maybe I can have respect of her as well. And that is basically the opposite of what we are afraid of when we want to please others. And we think, if I'm setting a boundary here, if I'm saying, give me more respect, but eventually if you do give yourself respect, others will follow. It's the same with a child. You can't tell your child what to do. Your child is not learning from what you're telling your child. Your child is learning by imitating you, by seeing what you're doing. That's the same with other people. If you start having self-respect, it's inevitably that others will follow and say, with that person, I don't mess. I don't step over that boundary, because it's actually just accepted.
What I'm taking from that is that you don't need to feel guilty or have any hesitation to invest in yourself. That investing in yourself is your asset. You're creating an appreciating asset in your self-care. It may take a little while to get momentum up if you haven't been investing in yourself and your well-being. However, if you're committed to having a different outcome in your day-to-day, then investing a small amount of time and learning to be okay with writing or doing voice memos or whatever it might be, so that you can work down into, what do I need to feel loved for me? And by understanding who you are at your core, you then have the flow-on effect of creating more good times, more positive energy, better flow, and therefore the snowball effect of that is that you have better relationships. People understand what your needs are, even though you haven't communicated them before. You're starting to create momentum, and by showing them how to care for yourself, they ultimately will be able to walk into their situations and know that first and foremost, I need to love myself. I need to care for myself before I can care for others.
Yeah, you shouldn't be guilty at all. The opposite is the case. Self-care is in service to others. I want to emphasize that self-care is in service to others. So
I like that.
It's your responsibility to take care of yourself, and everyone's responsibility. And I found this pattern over again with people when they struggle. They take a look around, who is responsible for me being in that situation? No one. You are responsible for being there. But in relationships, when both tensions are increasing, then there's this tendency from both parties that you are responsible for my situation and you are responsible to take me out. So you are having expectations of you helping me getting out there. And the other person has the same, and then you are bothered and have this additional weight on your shoulders that I need to take care of the other person. You didn't have to take care of the other person in the first place. It was his or her job to take care of him or herself. And even for children, there's a minimum amount where you say, I need to be there for the child because it can't do certain things alone. On the other hand, it's not your job that your child is always depending on you. Your job is that your child can take care of himself or herself eventually. And there's this trade-off between I help versus I'm depowering, basically. You want to empower your children and also the people in your environment. You want to empower them that they can take care of themselves. But it starts also with you taking care of yourself, and you're not having expectations of anyone else, and neither letting anyone else having expectations of you that go beyond your needs so that you can take care of yourself and have the responsibility and can follow this responsibility that your energy system is working. What we figured out in the science of good times is that there are 5 life areas. And in those areas, energy is flowing or it's blocked. We can also assess that simply by saying, how attracted are you in those to each area? And I clarify this, that one area is the self, you as an individual. And the other area are other individuals. So that's what we just talked about. But then there are 3 more. One area is the actions you're doing. It can be fun actions, but it can be also your work actions. That doesn't really matter because it's an action, and action is an action. And then the other area, the next one, the 4th, is what you're getting. So if you're having a fun area, it's usually supposed to give you a good time in the instant, in the moment, versus work is usually designed around giving you a good time for the long term, but whether through money, etc. So that's the 4th area, the things you're getting. It doesn't just have to be resources like money. It can be also acknowledgement, love, attention, etc. And the last area is your environment. So where you are. So I'm repeating that self is the first, social, actions, obtainments, and environment. And if you're paying attention to all of those 4 areas except of the self, to serve the self, then you're lifting up your energy inside of you. And eventually when you are full and saying, I am comfortable, that the place I am is good for me, the things I'm getting serve me, the people I'm with serve me and lift up my energy, and the things I'm doing is also lifting me up. Or at least not pulling me down. That's the minimum, to be on a baseline. In that moment, you take care of yourself. So you secure that for a moment, and then you take care of yourself. And after you took care of yourself, you are full of energy and you give automatically back in the other areas. You give back to your environment, you give back to the people, because, filling your glass, filling your cup of water, and after it's full, well, there's not fitting more inside, so it's overflowing. And then you can decide where I'm flowing it. So very simple principle, fill your cup. And when your cup is full, you can give to others. If your cup is empty, you're stressed out and you're expecting from others to fill your cup. But it's not the responsibility of anyone else. It's your responsibility to fill your cup.
So true. Very true. Being able to have the skill and the knowledge to fill your own cup is definitely a lifelong lesson. And it changes as you grow and you develop, and we're not stagnant people. So we're constantly evolving and changing. So the theory would be, and the idea is that then our wants and needs to replenish change as well. And so it's not something that, you spend 30 minutes writing it down and then that's the set of for your rest of your life. I feel like from what you're talking about, to have that ebb and flow and that positive energy going, is that it's constantly evolving and changing based on where you are in your life and the circumstances that you're choosing to enter your world.
But it's a beginning to write it down for 30 minutes, because then you have a bit of clarity what is actually helping me to let my energy flow. If you never thought about that before, that's challenging. So then you have a little bit thought about and have some ideas. Oh, actually treating myself on a coffee here and there is letting my energy flow. Or in the extreme case, the other way around, not drinking a coffee is actually making me also more fulfilled. So What is it serving me or not if it's serving me? And that's the question for yourself. If no one else would interfere in your thinking, if you wouldn't do it for anyone else, what would you want to do to yourself? And I can just repeat that question, which is quite powerful. What would I do that would be an expression of loving myself? An expression. Because at the end, it's about the longer you do those things, the more they turn into habits. It becomes a no-brainer. And at one point, you are going to embody it. And when you embody it, in that moment, well, the energy is flowing inside of you. Don't have to force it. And you can design all of those 5 life areas or all of the other 4 areas that they serve yourself. And then when your cup is full, serving the other areas again. That is an ongoing process, yeah. And things change. The thing that gives you a good time today doesn't mean it gives you a good time tomorrow. So be flexible with that. And don't say, oh, drinking a coffee is giving me a good time. And tomorrow you don't feel like, and you say, but I wrote down it's good for me, so I'm taking this time today and drink a coffee. No, you don't do yourself a favor. You're forcing yourself again. So write a couple of things on and say, oh, well, what gives me a good time today? And then I'm taking a look at the list and say, this feels the most today for me. So I can pick. And tomorrow it's something different. And over time, this will change drastically. Your environment will change, the people will change, the things you're doing, work, etc., and the things you're getting also. And it depends every time you can ask yourself, am I attracted to those things in my life or not? And that's where I even developed this dashboard, which is more of a life navigation system that assesses all of those things. And you can make frequent check-ins, whether you do this daily, which is helpful if you're getting started, and have a big deficit of self-care and energy flow in your life, of good times, say it like this. Or you do it twice a week or so over a certain period that you're seeing, am I still on track? And it tells you right away in all of those areas, what area is pulling you down. And then you say, oh, I need to work on that area, that it's not pulling me down, ideally even lifting me up. And over time, you will see you stay on track. And if your self-satisfaction is low, you know where to focus on.
Yes. It seems that when we are busy, life is busy, we also need to ensure that we show ourselves grace, that when we're creating a new habit, sometimes we can slip back into our old patterns of behavior, and that it's okay to take a breath and just start again, or start from where we were and not feel defeated or that we haven't been successful. It just means in that moment we have to focus on redirecting back to the outcome we're searching for.
Yeah. Success is energy flow. And sometimes it flows, sometimes it's blocked. Your job is to unblock it, to let it flow. And that's from moment to moment. It's important that it flows, yeah. So just because it blocked once, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means, okay, I know what to do now. It's not like one time I hit it and then I'm also a success. No, just because you wait one time in your career jump or whatever doesn't mean it's flowing forever. So it's your job to take care that keeps flowing.
And I wonder, Christian, are there any widespread myths about happiness or success you wish in particular were understood better?
The first is success is a one-time thing. It's like that. Maybe we start with that thing. It's not, as I just clarified. And with happiness also, that happiness is something we get. So that's so widespread that we might not even be aware of it anymore because it's part of our economy. Our whole economy is built around this idea. You don't have enough. If you buy, then you do. Then you're happy. And that is a myth that was artificially created and incredibly exploited. Wherever you walk, every advertisement, and I know a thing or two about it. I studied marketing. I had my marketing agency. And its advertisement is basically built like, do you know this problem? Oh, yes, now you feel it. I'm emphasizing that you really feel you have this problem. And if you didn't have this problem, let me convince you that you know now that there was a problem, even though you didn't think like there was one. And after you're clear about there's a problem, then here's a solution. So if you get that thing, then you have not the problem. In other words, you're not happy. If you get the thing, then you're happy. And they link everything. I mean, I had to throw up some years ago when I walked through Bangkok, which is basically a city of prostitution for marketing exploration. It's horrible. I saw saw a banner in the beauty shop when I went there with my girlfriend, and there was a picture of "Look good, be loved," or Coca-Cola says "Drink the Coke and be happy," or "Spread joy," and that's directly linked to what we think, like what we need. Love, in the Science of Good Times definition, is nothing else but unlimited or unrestricted energy flow. Energy is just flowing without obstacle towards something, or in all directions, and that can be also love. That's why people who are fresh in love report they are in love, while people who are 30, 40 years in married still say, I have love, but it feels different. Yes, but it's the same. Energy is flowing. The one time like a funnel, and the other time it's just flowing freely, but still no resistance. So love is something what we all aim for. And having this idea, I need this thing, and then I have love, is usually a trap. So I would like to clean up with that thing and saying, love is something you don't need anything for it, actually. You need sometimes even less than you have, because it's holding you back from feeling it.
I guess because we live in a society where commercial access to all of the different gadgets, all of the different things, and our attention is drawn so readily because it's always there. You know, when we go shopping, on TV ads, even when you're watching online, now they have ads for all of these things as well. You're drawn. That's their job, is to catch your attention. And it's to work out that the gadget or the thing that they're selling you to say that it's going to do this, and then you get it back and you're disappointed because it doesn't do the thing. It doesn't work out the way that the ad makes it feel. And I think there are common mindsets or habits that need to shift if we're looking at how we interact with others in society. Because you've been working with leaders and change makers, and burnout is something that is real. It's not talked about very often, day-to-day conversation, but it is something that a lot of people experience in a wide range of areas. Those mindset and habits that need to shift in order to maintain their energy, clarity, and joy over the long, term. The lessons that could be applied to juggling these multiple roles, especially as caregivers or leaders, teachers, in any field really, what's the lesson that's needed to help with that mindset and habit shift? Like, if there was one nugget of gold that you could share, that I could leave our conversation and go and do right now to change a mindset, what would it be?
Don't run away. Don't run away from things. We have two motivations, two drivers that drive any animal, and also us. Whether I'm walking away from something or I'm walking towards something. If I'm walking away from something, that means I don't have enough, or I'm not comfortable where I am, so I need to change something. So if I'm saying I'm going to work because I'm broke, then you acting upon your fear of being broke. And if you buy a product because you say, without it, I'm in trouble, then you're acting out of fear. The opposite is I'm walking towards things. And you're saying, I'm fine where I am, but I can make things better. And so I want to get to this point. It's the same for going into a relationship. Am I getting into this relationship because I'm lonely, or because I'm really attracted by that person? And that makes a big, big difference for the sustainability of this relationship. Because if you are lonely, or you're not satisfied with your life and you're being in a relationship, you're putting that burden on the other person. And that person can never fulfill it, because fulfillment comes from inside you. And then you're saying, but this thing is not giving, and this thing is not giving, so you need more, 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 and that becomes really stressful. The same is for economy. The same is for the things you're buying. You say, whether I'm having or not, I'm fine. Can I sleep on the ground and I'm okay? But I prefer a bed. It's not I need a bed. I prefer a bed. It's a hardcore example again, but there are many, many things that we are basically doing because we want to avoid the consequences. And if I could give that mindset shift that changes everything, is don't do the things, or don't do anything to avoid a consequence. Do everything to embrace the consequence. That's a major difference. Go into the relationship not because I want to avoid being alone. Go into the relationship because I embrace being together. I don't go to the job to avoid being broke. I go into this work because I embrace doing something there. I embrace giving. Don't take care of anyone as a caregiver. And I don't even like this label or the identity of caregiver, because it puts you already in a role that is hard to break. If you say, I do take care, it's a very bit different thing than I am something. It's hard to change who you are, but it's easy to change what you do. And so if you do take care of someone, then don't take care of that person because you're afraid of, if you don't do, then there's a problem. You won't get the acknowledgement, you don't get the love, or it's a problem down the road. That is so unsustainable and so toxic as it could be. The opposite is, I do take care because I want to give. And there are no strings attached again. The first thing is I'm giving, and basically subconsciously I'm expecting something in return. And if you don't give that in return, then I'm really upset and I'm really angry and I'm suddenly exploiting and I can't really explain it. And then we have a conflict. But if you say, I give because I want to give, I'm not depending on it. I just want to give. Whether you give something in return or not doesn't change it, that in the moment I wanted to give. And that person feels that. The person feels like, did you just want to give or did you want to get me? It's the same with marketing. Do you try to give me a product that makes my life better because you believe in it so fantastic that you should know about it? Or do you give me all of those salesy words that I'm eventually giving you my money? And every one of us is annoyed about it. And that shouldn't be it. So the mindset shift is really, do I question every day with everything you're doing? Am I doing this right now? Am I acting am I acting upon the fear of avoiding consequence? Do I want to avoid something when I'm doing this? Or do I want to get something that I just embrace? Changing this mindset will shift your life 180 degrees and eventually brings you out of bad times into good times, because a bad time is literally something you don't want to be in and you're running away from, and a good time is something you're walking towards or you're comfortable being already in.
You know, we're talking about the flow, ebb and flow of positive and negative energy, blockages. How would somebody recognize that it's time to slow down, pivot, and seek support rather than continuing to push with a blockage? How can I recognize that my energy is not where I want it to be?
It's so simple that no one of us gets it. You don't want to be there. The moment you feel you don't want to be here, that means your energy is blocked. Done. Period. If you're working and say, actually, I prefer to rest now, but I keep working, well, you're acting against your nature. So you need a rest. Done. And we are so far away from this ideal state, so many of us, that we even question and having debates around, but sometimes you need to push through. Maybe I need to do those things because we forgot about what it means, what it feels like to be so hooked by something. I mean, you don't force a child to play for hours. A child just runs as seriously as it could. Like its life depending on it, and it runs and wants to play. And after a while, it says, now I'm tired, I'm done here. Or it's boring. Stops immediately and goes somewhere else and plays something else. And the next thing, again, 100% serious. I'm playing this as seriously as I could. And this drive is high performing. Whether you are in a corporate job, or you're in your family, or you're in a relationship. Whatever you're doing and you need to perform, you're performing better if you're absolutely hooked about doing what you're doing. You're waking up with, hell yeah, I want to do that now. That gets me. You don't have a second thought of, could comfort be nicer? Bullshit. You don't think about that. So in that case, that's the ideal. And everything where you're not drawn towards this, where you say, it's still nice. It pulls me. Okay, you keep going. But sooner or later, the attraction stops. And in that moment, when you say, I keep going, that means you're acting out of fear, because you're not acting out of joy anymore. You're not acting because you embrace the consequence. You're acting because if I would stop now, that would have a negative consequence. So your body tells you, I want to rest. Your mind tells you it's boring, and you continue. That doesn't make sense at all. So it doesn't make sense out of the perspective that you want the result. It comes out of the perspective that you're saying, yeah, I can't stop now. I can't listen to what I need. And that's the same with conversation with conflicts. I'm pretty sure many of your listeners as caregivers or as those who take care they have a lot of conflicts with people. at least they have conflicts inside of themselves. And there's one of the conflicts is, I have a need and I just express it, and you're overstepping, and yet I have to defend this need. And eventually it becomes a conflict and a fight, but none of them wanted to have that fight. They wanted something different. Sometimes it's, yes, I think a fight helps me to get acknowledgement and attention, because otherwise you don't listen to me. But if I could get the attention otherwise, differently, I'd prefer not to have a fight. It's the same thing. Why do we keep pushing here? Why can't we relax? In China, it's a fighting art. It's Kung Fu, and that is built on Tai Chi. And the Tai Chi practice, the same with Kung Fu, is basically this energy tension and energy release. The same with yin and yang. It's not about good and bad. It's about tension and release. So sometimes we are hooked to do something, and then energy is concentrated, and when the energy runs out, we are hooked to rest. And if I keep pushing in the moment where both tensions are given, it's not leading anywhere. I interviewed someone who did Tai Chi for many years, and I asked, could you apply this philosophy also in your relationship or your life? And he said, absolutely. And if I knew that earlier, I would have done this much earlier. Because in a conflict, it does not make sense if one person pushes, that you push back. It's fire against fire. It's more like, let the person push, and I'm relaxing. And the moment the person is basically, for those who watch this video, is basically hitting their hand forward. And at one point, the hand can't go further. So if I'm blocking here, there is power against power. But if the hand hits forward, at one point, there is nothing anymore. I'm falling. And in that moment, you can push back. And then it's a dance, forth and back. Listen, speaking, relaxing, accepting, acknowledging, and giving the other standpoint. And the goal is not to have a conflict. The goal is to have a dance. The goal is to relax and to find a solution where in both parties the energy is flowing.
So it's that ebb and flow.
Yes. Yeah, but not between good and bad. That's what I want to emphasize. Many years ago, I got asked, so can we have good times forever, or don't we need bad times to have a good time? And I said, well, I don't know. Honestly, I need to check that. I didn't find the answer yet. Meanwhile, I did found the answer. It's not about having a bad time so that we have a good time. A good time is split between two things. Energy tension good time, where I'm acting and doing some exciting things, and relaxation good time. And if I'm pushing further after I did the exciting thing, then I need to relax. And if I don't do that, it turns into a bad time. So listen to myself. Am I still hooked here? And if not, can I communicate this clearly that I would prefer to stop or do something else?
Makes sense. It's a good analogy. If anybody doesn't know what Tai Chi is, and they can research it and have a look at it, it's a beautiful art form. To watch. And I used to do Tai Chi when I was living down the Gold Coast. And it's the peace when you're doing it and focusing on your position and moving with intention. And I think when we talk about good times, you have to be intentional. Without intentionality, you can't really know whether or not you're having a good time or a bad time, because you're just living moment to moment. Whereas you're talking about taking time to write down and find out what you love and what would fill your cup. That's an intentional act. And then you have to be intentional and follow through by choosing something that is self-love for you. And your GoodTime app sounds like a powerful companion for caregivers for anybody wanting measurable change. How does the app work, and what can listeners expect when they try it out?
Yeah, thank you for this question. Before I'm answering this, I would like to give a comment on what you just said. I think in the beginning, as we're not used to having good times and designing our lives around this, it is intentional. I totally agree with that. It starts with the belief I deserve good times, and now I'm intending to create them. Over time, however, the more you created your systems, the more it becomes normal. You don't need an intention to have a good time. You're just flowing, and it's working for you. It just feels wrong also not to do certain things. You can see with any animal. I don't believe any animal has an intention and argues and reasons around I want to have a good time now. No, they just go. And if the dog doesn't follow with you, the dog tells you. It just stops. And it feels wrong until you break the dog. And then the dog is doing all the things he doesn't want to do. And that's basically us. We are used to be pulled. We are used to be pushed around. But we can break this. I didn't do this experiment, but as we speak about it, I might want to do this, to take a dog who is used to be pulled around and giving him some room where he realizes, I don't have to come. I can be free. And then it starts slowly. Probably the dog will also think around after a while that, I'm doing intentionally not coming now, or I'm doing this, etc. But after a while, this becomes the new norm. It becomes the new normal again. So, by nature, a good time is not necessarily intentional. And we need to get to that state again. For the app, we support this. We support this clarity, this understanding, and this awareness of what gives me a good time and what doesn't give me a good time, where the energy is blocked and where the energy is flowing. So the app currently exists out of two parts. The first is an assessment. It's currently manual assessment. We're working on it to make it smoother and more passively. However, for now, you're going through a manual assessment, which helps a lot, actually. We have even included a notepad, because we realized when people go through the assessment, they get already during the assessment so much clarity on what's going on. So the assessment assesses 5 life areas, the 5 I explained, and sees how much your energy is flowing there and where it's not. So basically you are answering the question, say for the social life, with whom did you spend your time today, or who got your attention today? It can be also thinking about someone. And how much did you like giving in this time the attention to that person? And you can then just rate, it's okay, I liked it, I really liked it, I loved it, or I disliked it, I really didn't like it, or I hated it. And depending on what you're choosing, you can also say I liked it sometimes and sometimes less, and you're creating this ratio. So over time, when you go through the whole assessment, you're covering all 5 areas. The assessment usually takes 10 minutes, but for people who are not used to this, to answer those questions, it takes longer. We have candidates who go up to 30 minutes for the first time. Later, second time, it's half the time. So it's usually breaking down. It's a matter you have to get used to it. So after you are going through it, you see in the dashboard right away your good time ratio of your total life. And you see the good time ratio of each area. And then you're seeing, my energy is the most blocked in my obtainments, for example, things I'm getting, or my energy is the most blocked in myself. Okay, what can I do that my self is flowing better? And then you start balancing. You're seeing that, for example, the things I'm taking into me, food, for example, gives me a good time, but it also makes me very unsatisfied with my body later. So can I eat something else that gives me the same good time while not impacting myself negatively? And then you start balancing. It becomes a game, as I think life is a game. Now you have a dashboard for that life game, and that makes it easier to navigate. And if you do that frequently, you see the trend. And this is incredibly powerful, because you see a couple of things. One of the things is, I had a bad day. Was one bad day. My life didn't end. You get a realistic perspective of how bad your life actually is. And sometimes we think it's worse than it is. And on the other hand, you're also seeing instantly when the graph is dropping or when it's rising. You see, I'm doing something right currently. What did I do? The dashboard tells me. So let's keep doing what I'm doing. And instead of 60% GTR, good time ratio, I'm having a 70% GTR this week. And next week I had 80%. Wow, something I'm doing right. Let me automate that. Let me create a structure that allows me to do this without any efforts, that I don't have to think about this anymore, that it becomes easier to do all of the things that apparently work for me. And the other way around as well. When your satisfaction with yourself is slowly dropping, and that's super helpful for those people who love to take care of others. When your self-satisfaction is slowly dropping, act immediately and get it before you're at the bottom, before you realize now, I need to fight and escalate and whatever. You're realizing very early, something is getting off here. Let me take care again of myself. And then, So as a caregiver, just another thing what just comes on my mind, as a caregiver, as someone who takes care, your job is also to take care of you. And that needs to say hi.
Sounds like a very, I want to say, beneficial. Like there seems to be a lot of benefit to giving the GoodTime app a try and seeing where you might need to put some more energy into yourself in order to feed that. And then there are visual learners. And I think if you're able to see a visual and a trend, and you actually also get to feel the good vibes as well and the outcome, it's worthwhile documenting and doing a little bit of a research process for yourself. And I think particularly in my field as a caregiver who cares because I want to, because that is where I find joy, is supporting and caring. I think it's good to then see how that also flows through to the people who I love and care for if I am in a different state. And so I think that would be quite an interesting research project to do for oneself. And I also wanted to ask, because when you're doing and developing programs, is there any upcoming exciting projects or resources you're wanting to share with my community of things that might be exciting for you coming up?
Yes. So I'm currently writing on a book that is coming. I gotta ask for so many years, and every time, let me do some more research. And so I'm currently writing on a book, and perhaps I will even release the next week a very short handbook, firstly, because the other book takes another half a year probably. So that is something coming, and I can't pitch too much yet, but if you check my website and you subscribe to the newsletter, you will get information when we are out there. We start making GoodTime events. So where we have conferences, where we make activities, probably remote for many of your listeners. If they are around in Asia, fly by. And otherwise remote. We'll support the individuals to understand what is a good time for them, to lead them through it, to have exchange discussions and practical tools at their hand, what they can do to maximize their good times.
That sounds very exciting. Lots of new things coming up for you then.
For the app, in a couple of months, we're going to include AI. So it's going to be much easier to have a natural conversation, a reflection, and to log everything in a very natural way, where it's basically zero effort, but ultimate insights.
So is the GoodTime app on Apple and Android and on your computer? If you don't have phones, is the GoodTime app available on most devices?
The GoodTime app is for now an web app, so you can just go on goodtime.app and then you have the GoodTime app. Yes, that's for now the minimal viable product. So it's a proof of concept, and we proved the concept. And now in a few months, we're going to the next development stage, and then it becomes probably both Android and iOS app.
Fantastic. Well, for all of my listeners, all of the details and everything will be in the description below with all of the links for you guys to go and check things out. Christian, thank you so much for your transparency and your wisdom today. As we close, what final encouragement can you offer my caregivers who want to reclaim joy and live their own thriving bonus round?
Have some self-respect. Self-respect for your long-term needs, not your short-term needs that can overflow, but also here and there. But have respect for your needs and have respect for yourself. And if you ask yourself this question again, if I had respect for myself, how would I treat myself? Would I take my words seriously? Would I have to repeat myself? Or is it okay the way I do it? And I think that's the underlying issue. If you take too much care of anyone else and let your own needs drop, you don't respect yourself. So don't expect it from anyone else to do. Start with yourself.
I like that very much, Christian. So to our Radiant Moment listeners, start maximizing your good times today with Christian's GoodTime.app. In minutes, understand how you invest your time, see its impact on your well-being, and receive personalized suggestions to create sustainable joy and energy. Visit goodtime.app and begin your journey towards a clearer, fuller life today. If you'd also like to know more about Christian, please, Christian, tell us where we can find more about you.
You can get on my website, which is chrisw.co. or you find me on some social platforms. You find everything on my website, chrisw.co.
Until next time, take gentle care of your radiant moments, and we'll talk soon.